Hello everyone, welcome to another video where I'm going to showcase a really good run by myself in Open Grey League, a priced Open Grey League tournament, a $1,000 cash prize tournament actually. It was very stacked as well, and I had a really good performance here. The team that I used was probably one of the spiciest and legit Open Grey League teams that there is around, with Dunsparce, Shadow Charizard, and Alola Ninetales. I don't really consider meta anymore this season. It's just not really that common anymore because Charm has been nerfed. Shadow Swampert, so right now because it's not that good in a Noctowl meta. It does cover Galarian Stunfisk really well though, and Registeel. So that gives Alolan Ninetales some more play. Basically, it's running that core against Swampert, Alolan Ninetales. Then I also have Medicham and Trevenant. Basically, they just cover like grass and steels pretty well. I don't bring a steel type myself this time. I just haven't bothered lately. They are good, but they're also very boring. Galarian Stunfisk isn't even that solid against a Noctowl, so if I were to go for a steel, I'd probably take Registeel or even Bastiodon nowadays. But I covered flyers pretty well with Alolan Knights and Dunsparce. So we'll see how that goes. This is actually the first time I think I've used Shadow Charizard in an actual Open Grey League tournament. Let's see how this is going to do against Kimisui, who also was at Worlds last year in Senior, so he is pretty good. But his Deoxys is not very good in general because it doesn't even beat the Steel types that well as a fighter. I get a good lead here. Fortunately, the Deoxys is actually pretty good against my team. Not sure if we're gonna see it. I make somewhat of a misplay here because this is actually one of the very few things that Shadow Charizard can answer reliably. But I answer with my Alolan Ninetales, and I guess I can get rid of it. Against what's it called? Against the Galarian Stunfisk. I even let him farm a little bit more, but he notices that and he stops attacking as well. Very smart play from Kimisui. Now he might almost come out with an Earthquake, which is not great for me. And if it's like an Altaria on the back, this will get very iffy now. Because I already used my Alolan Ninetales here, so that's why this is a misplay. It was just safer, basically, to have my Alolan Ninetales still, so I would have a flyer counter, because right now I'm not in a great spot against flyers, and there is the Altaria. Now, Shadow Charizard doesn't win this. Actually, you might win once, might be a little bit IV dependent. I don't think you do, though. This does do good damage, but it's likely we're not going to see it because this Altaria is just going to farm me down. Shadow Charizard is so fragile. It's, I wouldn't say on par with like a Haunter, but it gets pretty close. I have a pretty good rank as well, but I barely don't get there. This is still fine though, because their Galarian Stunfisk is not at an Earthquake yet. I landed the Ice Weather Ball on it, so it's a little bit lower too. And all I need is an Ice Sponge for this Altaria, and then probably a Psychic for the Galarian Stunfisk. So I do farm up a little bit more, so we CMP. So I'm sure to CMP on that Earthquake should I need to get the Psychic. And that might be it, because Psychic, despite being resisted, does a little bit more than Ice Sponge. To be honest, Ice Sponge may have done enough here too, but just to be sure, I throw Psychic here and that will win me the game. I actually won this 3-0. Very good game. My next matchup against my faction teammate Maxi, one of my very good friends as well. I like Maxi a lot, and he's running probably what is the hardest of hardest meta in this tournament, except that he has Venusaur instead of like a Trevenant, right? And that makes it a little bit annoying in general, I think, because if you play meta, I found that things just get really RPS in this meta. With a team of like mine, I didn't feel like that. Basically, my Shadow Charizard has a lot of play here. Umbreon, as a neutral matchup, he just outbulks me, which is probably not... It's not a great matchup. Lantern's not great for it. But my Alolan Ninetales looks so good with Power Snow here because it beats the Venusaur. It does well against Medicham, against Umbreon, and against Noctowl. Let's take a look at how this goes. Ninetales into that Medicham. Now, Maxi was running ABA teams the whole time against me, so he leads weak to something, and he's weak to something in the back as well. So this is a little bit annoying because I did bring my Trevenant, and he might have something like a Lantern in the back if he's still doing that, because this is actually the third game. Actually, what I do here, I wait a turn and then bait. This implies to my opponent if they are very sharp, and Maxi is one of those opponents who's very sharp, that I don't want them to catch my big move, right? But I'll wait a turn and then bait. So I still have energy on that Alolan Ninetales that might be useful later against like a flyer. They actually bait the Ice Punch there, not convenient. I wait for them to see if they catch or not, then throw the Psychic. This is annoying because it barely doesn't KO, but I will be able to farm this down. I know I lose CMP, so I will never want to throw on that as well here. And they do land the Psychic. I have two Pokemon that are almost fainted, so this does not look very good for me. And again, indeed, there is that Lanturns, man. If I let Trevenant here, I would have been in a fantastic spot. But as you can see, my timer's almost up, so I can preserve the Medicham a little bit because he didn't throw his charge move there. And now I can get a lot of energy on my Trevenant here because all the charge moves from a Lantern are resisted. Maxi reacting very quickly, proceeds to throw a Thunderbolt. He likes Umbreon a lot, so especially since I have Power Snow Alolan Ninetales, Umbreon isn't even bad against that. So I need to be careful of that. I'm definitely expecting that in the back. That's why I don't shield Trevenant here. There's no shot he's like triple weak to it with like a Venusaur or Galarian Stunfisk in the back. It is that Umbreon. I can get 2 Seed Bombs here, and then my timer will be up, but both my Pokemons are pretty low. Alolan Ninetales has a Weather Ball stored, I believe, or is one off, so maybe it can put in some work. This is some valuable chip damage, though. He's keeping all the shields because... sorry, he keeps his one shield because he needs that for my Dazzling Gleam, potentially. I hard swap into Medicham here. Ice Punch comes through. And he throws his charge move here. This gets very iffy now. I'm already so low, but I feel confident here. But there's one thing I forgot, that his Medicham was alive. And because of that, I tried to throw into a Snarl. I didn't even expect his swap because I thought this thing wasn't even on the field. Not sharp by myself. I'll get to another Weather Ball here. This would KO, but he has another shield. He has some energy as well. And looking at my timer, it's almost up. If he throws another charge move here, the timer will be up. I might be able to catch a charge move that could win me this battle. Just foul play would take me out at this point. And I'm actually able to catch the charge move on my Trevenant, and that will win me the game. In hindsight, it seemed that Maxi didn't expect my timer to be up already. It seemed to be pretty quick, but as you can see, a lot of charge moves went over that period. So that allowed me to swap out, catch that move, and win this battle. This was actually a 3-0 sweep. I actually somewhat hard counted him in the previous one, so I guess I also... What I really would have liked to have showcased is how I set up a whole Venusaur on fire. But that was a very RPS matchup. I think this one was way more interesting. Next matchup against my good friend Elise, a very, 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 very good player from the States. And he's running his favorite double ice with a Swampert. Always strong. I actually used one of his teams in a practice tournament the other day, and it just worked so well. Let's see how this goes. This was actually on the stream as well. So I'm not really sure what looks good here on my side, on my end here. But I also do know Elite a little bit. Leading Medicham into Umbreon. People just don't expect me to lead strong against or something. And he actually say swaps the Power Snow Alolan Ninetales. He used to run Charm as well, I think, but he went to Power Snow 2. I think it's the way now on Alolan Ninetales. Thing with Alolan Ninetales is its defensive typing isn't great, but it's also not weak to a lot of things. Basically, just Galarian Stunfisk and what's it called? The Registeel are really good against it. Nidoqueen is just nowhere to be found. But here's another Pokemon that kind of that Alolan Ninetales doesn't like. It is the Dunsparce. I will no shield everything here. I think it's Frostlass in the back, so I'm probably good with a shield advantage. And he will actually outpace me to another one, which is crazy. Actually, Alolan Ninetales might be able to flip this as well if I were to use 2 shields, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna take another Weather Ball here. I knew he had some more energy. That's okay. This won't do too much. Ice Weather Ball is not the strongest neutral move. It's just good because it's spammy. In the back is that Frostlass. He brings it in immediately. And smart play by him throwing an Avalanche first right before my Blast Burn. Very weird that I sneak one here because I shouldn't. Right? I came in one turn later because I swapped. He brings in the Umbreon here. It looks like a Snarl doesn't come in, but it actually did. And that Blast Burn does so much damage on an Umbreon. This is a tricky spot. If I take out this Umbreon, he will get to a foul play before my Blast Burn, so I have to shoot here. then I have no shields for my Medicham for that process. So this might look like a weird play. I would have loved to have thrown a Blast Burn and take out this Umbreon, but it's not the play. It's not the play because I cannot have that process have any energy. I need to hope that I can counter it down before this gets to another move and now get the 2 Psychics here. In fact, he might even no-shield the first one. I would expect him to be honest, because that's basically his win con here. And then I should be able to counter down because I kept that shield for my Medicham. And that is a very, very well played on my side, I think. He bait out my Dunsparce with the Alolan Ninetales and almost swept with that Frostless. If I threw my energy with Zard, he would have. Next matchup against PvP David. PvP David is one of those people I just cannot lose to because he will rub it in my face forever, which I find really... He's like an annoying little brother sometimes, so I cannot lose here. I cannot lose here. I think I have a pretty good record in Show 6 against him, but not so much against in GBL. He is a very valued member of my community though, so it's gonna be fun battling him. He was also... These battles were at like 3 a.m. I believe, so we were both a little bit brain dead here. Yeah, as you can see, 2:30. He actually already hit Legend as well, pretty cracked. And I lead Dunsparce into Sableye here. My Dunsparce, I believe, doesn't beat Sableye in the zero shields, or at least get really close. But because he's staying in, I'm expecting like a knockdown on the back, so I'm gonna I'm gonna shield my Dunsparce for sure. He needs a foul play and a return here. Dunsparce is not as bulky as Lickitung, but it's about as bulky as a Lantern, so it's still pretty bulky. I do shield the return correctly, which is huge. Drillrun is slightly better here. Rock Slide once was nerfed, probably to hurt Galarian Stunfisk a little bit. But Drillrun was not. And this does good damage, but Rollout is just so bad, and I can't farm it down, really. This is only a foul play. I think he could have reached return, to be honest, if you know how little this Rollout does. Look at that. It's so bad. And he swaps in Lantern. So one thing that I don't like here, actually, did I throw an alignment there? That's bad as well. Either way, what I don't like here, I think it's Knockdown the back. Knockdown with like Shield Vantage will sweep me. He throws his energy here, which is huge for me because that's exactly what I want. Now he is dry and he does swap in that Knockdown. He did not need to throw this move because Wing Attacks plus Sky Attack would have been good enough to farm me down afterwards. Maybe even shield your Noctowl afterwards. He does shield the Noctowl, and very good counting by him. Not throwing on CMP, going for an extra wing attack, and then throwing right before my next Hydro. I can't shield my Swampert here, though, because he will farm me down. And then, instead of bringing in my Dunsparce here, I bring in my Charizard, because it doesn't have much play against that Lantern. It's completely walled there. And as you can see, Charizard is so fragile, can barely take that Sky Attack. I go for a bait here. This would be an obvious Blast Burn, but that's why I actually bait. And I still have energy here though, which is nice. I need to be careful of him not catching here on the Lantern. But this looks very bad because one thing that's really bad right now is that Lantern can also win 0 shields against some Dunsparces. You need like a rank 1 to win 0 shields, because then you would survive the Surf. Obviously, I already took some little bit other fast move damage, so I don't win that 0 shields theoretically anyway. But look at how close this gets. Now I need to take him out on 1 wing attack, and if I survive 1 wing attack and 1 spark, I might get to the Dragon Claw. As you see, I survived the spark, and I actually survived the wing attack and get to my next Dragon Claw, which means that bait really paid off here against PvP David. This was a very close matchup. I think his Shadow Abomasnow really is a good Pokemon. I really like it, but it's just walled against so many Pokemon. Like Medicham does good against it, Alolan Ninetales does good against it, Steel types like Galarian Stunfisk and Registeel, they're just all over the place. Noctowl wins 0 shields and does do bad against it in 1s and 2s. It's a very iffy Pokemon to use. Let's take a look at my next matchup against Azeyrox. And this is actually where I didn't look forward to this matchup. I didn't think it was good because Warren's really tough for me. But man, and Cresselia is also tough. But man, this was one of the more exciting because these are 2 off-meta teams, and Open Great League looks so flexible when both players are not running hard meta. We do have some harder meta Pokemon, of course, like Registeel, Noctowl on his side, and Swampert, Warren somewhat. But I would consider Cresselia and Charizard as pretty spicy, just like my Dunsparce Charizard combination there. So this is going to be really exciting. We actually have a Shadow Charizard face off here. And I lead my Dunsparce into Shadow Walling. Now, one thing about Dunsparce here, Alolan Ninetales is okay, but Shadow Walling just hits way harder with that Icicle Spear, which is very annoying. I'm also very careful of him not catching my move, because that could... I need all this... Like Dunsparce hits about 4 Pokemon on this team for super effective, so I don't want him to catch anything. I will shield the first move just in case he's trying to be cheeky and go for an Earthquake there. He throws the Icicle Spear immediately. Now I can farm up a little bit more and have some energy for whatever's in the back. I kind of predicted a strategy of him to lead strong against Swampert and have Shadow Charizard as a safe swap. Because I could do the same. And it might be actually. He comes with the Shadow Charizard here. And this is where Dunsparce, where you really find that rollout on Dunsparce is not that great. In fact, rollout, despite being super effective, double super effective on a fragile Pokemon, you don't win the 2 shields against Charizard. It's crazy. I predict the Dranclaw bait here. Blosmer would take me out. I go for the obvious bait here again, hoping I can get to another one, but I actually regretted it immediately when I threw it. To be honest, he shielded anyway, so it didn't matter. And would have KO'd at that point anyway. Now I have my Shadow Swampert. I'm hoping for a Registeel in the back. But this is actually game 2. And in game 1 he used Swampert. Or sorry, not Swampert. Noctowl in the back. I totally lost track of energy here as well. So it's not great. We actually CMP on this. I think my only win con really was catching on the Dunsparce. Because then I'd have 2 Hydros for that. For that Noctowl. But it does look like it gets to that. And if it is Noctowl on the back, I probably lose now because I need a few more rollouts for a Rock Slide as well. I can't leave with a move. If I swap in Dunsparce, he just farms me down, throws a move on Swampert. If I throw a move here, he just takes out my Dunsparce and farms down my Swampert as well. So very well played by him. He just played a little bit better than me. I think I didn't use my Alolan Ninetales correctly in these first 2 games, but that's okay. That's okay. I actually didn't go 0-3 here. I went 1-2. So I did salvage. I showed him a little bit of my own Charizard playing game 3, which also was on stream. So at this point, I think I'm 4-1. And my next matchup is Q1. I may have butchered up this name. 1-2-3. And he actually has... this might be like Rice's team or Doombug's team from the recent regional in Arlington. And actually my Dunsparce looks so crazy good here. It looks good against Noctowl, decent against Registeel, it wins the 1 shields, decent against Trevenant, decent against Frostlass. Let's see how this goes. We have my Shadow Zard into Shadow Swamp. You think this is a bad lead, but in 2 shields I actually win this because wing attacks add up so much, and with the wing attack buff you actually pace at the same timing to these moves, which is really nice. Now, my opponent, this is actually game 3, and my opponent played the same team twice already. This is the same lead as before, and I'm actually expecting the same backline. I make a pretty bad play here, but this also secures switch anyway if I double shield here. Muchos didn't do much, so I still have that going for me. Now I have a pretty healthy Charizard. He swaps in the Noctowl here, which I kind of knew was in the back if he's running the same line. And my Power Snow Alolan line just does very well here. Because I swapped so fast, I will get to 2 moves here at least, which is pretty nice. I win CMP as well, which is pretty nice too. And he has to throw pretty quickly before I get to my next one. So he can't even farm up too much. Doesn't shield the next one. He's now in Dragon Claw range. Or maybe with 1 wing attack. So this is looking pretty good for me. If I think there's in the bag what I think is in the bag, then basically I just played for switch here. With a fragile team like mine, playing for switch is usually not ideal, but I kind of had to. It was necessary evil. I have 1 turn lag there, that's great. He doesn't catch my Dragon Claw on anything. That could have been annoying. If it's Trevenant, it could still get a little bit iffy. He does shield it actually, and then miscounted. He swaps into that Obstagoon, and I have that Medicham. This is actually the team he ran 3 times in a row. I'm gonna throw right before like his 11th, I think he was 8 or something. but I don't want him even get even remotely close to a hyper beam or gunk shot, so just gonna take that out. This Skytech does take me out, and Medicham can likely counter everything down. He did have 2 good Medicham answers. He never brought them, really, probably fearing my Trevenant. Yeah, that's game over. This was a 2-1 win against Q1. Alright, my last matchup, the 7th round of this tournament with 84 pretty good people. License to draw, actually also using a pretty fragile team here, or pretty spicy actually, with 3 shadows. Shadow Ampharos, which I made a video about recently, and has like very safe matchups, not so much against me because of like Trevenant, Medicham, Swampert. I think even Alolan Ninetales is very fine, and Dunsparce that hits pretty hard on it with Drurons. Shadow Sableye, I'm a big fan because there's very few Obstacles and Charmers nowadays. There's becoming more Umbreon though, which is scary for it. And he's running a classic Walrein Trevenant core. Again, works pretty well because there's fewer Obstacles. So my matchup looks kind of decent here. My Alolan Ninetales looks very good with Power Snow here. Actually would have been even better with Charm because he has no answers. Just like me, he has no Steel type. But Charm would make his Noctowl much better. Now, my Alolan Ninetales beats that Noctowl. It also does pretty well against Ampharos, I think, because Ampharos is pretty fragile. It will do decent against Shadow Sableye. It's actually not as good as you think. Does decent against the Medicham. Not so good against the Walrein, and beats the Trevenant. But my Dunsparce beats 5 out of 6 here. Can't beat anything but that Medicham here. So, we're going to see some Dunsparce action here for sure. And maybe some Charizard action. If he is bold enough to bring that Ampharos here, I wouldn't think so, because my Dunsparce just looks so good. Well, let's find out. I lead my Dunsparce into Walrein. This is a decent matchup, but again, you've seen this like how I played against Azeyrox. It didn't go as well as I wanted it to. But he tries to catch on the Shadow Sableye. Rockslide would have done a little bit less than the Druron, but I do throw Druron, and 2 Drurons with a few rollouts will take him out actually. So this is just fine, his catch, but I do need my Dunsparce somewhat to take out that Walrein, especially when he has energy, because my Alolan Ninetales isn't really that great. The rollouts kind of help though, because that might put him into like Dazzling Gleam range. I have to throw my move immediately here before he barely gets to his next foul play. I'm a shield up here. I have switched still. My Shadow Charizard looks very good at the moment, unless he has Ampharos, but I wouldn't think he does. If he swaps in his Medicham, I likely just go into the Alolan Ninetales right away. But he brings in a Walrein, which makes me think he might have something like a Noctowl on the back. I actually should have Shield here in my opinion, because Rock Slide is so valuable on that Walrein. But I can also keep the Shield for the Alolan Ninetales, because he needs to go to a full freaking Earthquake here, which is a lot of energy. I actually expect the bait here, but I will shield anything no matter what, expecting Noctowl on the back, because people who have Noctowl or Umbreon, they run it. Keep that in mind if you play Open Great League Show 6. They are very safe and good picks. I've played Noctowl myself in the previous tournament, and it just was so good. This was CMP. I thought he was 1 off. I'm going to shield anyway, and that's actually a correct call by myself. It is knocked on the back. I can get to 2 Weather Balls here. If he shields 1, I'll just Blast Burn with the Charizard, and we should be very fine here. If I land the second one, I just Dragon Claw, and we also win. I actually swap immediately. He needs to throw Shadow Ball and farm me down. But I know that he won't outpace me to 2 Sky attacks here, so let's see what he does. He throws Shadow Ball, and actually doesn't KO yet because my Charizard's pretty good IVs, and this Blast Burn will definitely... I think this does about 70% to a Noctowl, so definitely is sufficient to take it out. Then one Wing Attack will take out that Walrein. So that was the official tournament, but since I tied with another player who actually was 6-0 at first, I have to play another best of 3 for the 3rd place, which is like $100 more. And at this point it was like 5:30 a.m. I was like, nah dude, I stayed up so long, I want it all. So we're going into the last match against Yodada30. He was running an Altaria double steel. Actually he's running double steel, double flyer, and the Medicham Trevenant. If I had a Sableye, it would have been awesome, but I don't. What I do have is a Dunsparce, which can hit everything on his line. There's super effective Drurons for the Galarian Stunfisk and Registeel, though they're generally still not good matchups. you beat Altaria Noctowl in neutral situations. I think a good IV Dunsparce misses like a rollout breakpoint that doesn't allow you to win the zeros against it. But every other you just win. Medicham obviously is horrible for it. Let's take a look at how I play against him. This is basically the 8th matchup here, and this is for $100 extra or $100 less. And I do lead my Dunsparce into the Noctowl. And look at my backline. This is perfect for me. So I know my opponent a little bit here. I know he's a big fan of steel types, so I definitely expect those. That's why I have Charizard and Trevenant. Charizard isn't even bad against like Galarian Stunfisk on even energy. And shields up. They let the first Rock Slide go. I expect them to catch at some point, but not. They don't catch just yet. So I throw immediately here. That does get shielded. And one really good thing about Dunsparce is, if you have a good Dunsparce, you win this with a shield down, because they need to throw another Sky Attack here, and they won't get there before I get to this Rock Slide. But he tries to catch, and I predicted it. So I swap into my Trevenant immediately. Why not into Charizard? Well, because I'm a shield up and would one-shot it, because I do expect Registeel in the back, and Charizard destroys that. Regardless, I have shield advantage still. I have switch at this moment. I want to get rid of my Trevenant because it's terrible against the Noctowl, so I will not use any shields here ever. Shadow Ball lands, and I will CMP on the next Rock Slide to get maximum energy. Maybe I can get a Seed Bomb off on a Noctowl. It could be useful later if I have to Dragon Claw it. Or like Wing Attack it down. Go for the Seed Bomb here, that will take it out. If he shields this, I will sweep with Charizard on anything he has now. Honestly, Altaria would still be tough at this point. Let's see what he has. And he actually comes in with Medicham. As you can see, I have a little bit of weird lag there. It doesn't allow me to, like, the energy comes in late, so I don't get my Seed Bomb off here, which would be really useful. And at this point, I'll just shield anything. I also... like a Psychic will probably almost one-shot me. I don't think it completely does yet. And actually miscount here, because I think I wanted to throw one before his Ice Punch. But it's fine. He lets this go. And now it's very much over, because I can get to a Dragon Claw. I have a Rock Slide stored. There's not much my opponent could have done here. I basically hard counted him. Fun fact, second game he ran Altaria double steal, and I ran a lot of Ninetales, Trevenant, and Medicham. He had no shot. I hard called everything out of him. So actually a 7-1 result with a pretty spicy team. Not a single Pokemon over 2200 stat distribution, right? No Umbreon, no Azumarill, no Registeel, no Altaria. None of those. Probably my spiciest team for Open Great League to date, and probably my best result, especially considering I was playing with like half my eyes closed and just very unable to count moves. I think it was a really good performance. I hope you liked the video, and have a good one.